Now is the time to get your house in order. With constant chaos, violence, threats of war, we've got increased water contamination all over the place. We're seeing more and more things constantly, and we need to be prepared for these things. This is not something that we can just not prepare for. It can get ugly, and it can get ugly fast. I believe that we're already in an SHTF situation. Our country is definitely in a state of chaos. I've never seen anything like this before, and I know a lot of you have never seen anything like this before. So I think now is the time to make sure that we are prepared. If, for numerous different situations, I think that's really important. Over the years, we have changed the way we prep, what we prep, how we look at prepping. I mean, it's really evolved over the years because we have encountered so many different things that it makes us look at things from a different angle, really. And the more we see, the more we're like, okay, how are we going to deal with this? What is our best plan for this? So, and we're always looking at this stuff. We're seeing all kinds of flooding around here right now. It's been raining for like a week, and it just, we'll get a couple hours of a break, and then it starts raining again, and then a couple hours of a break, and then it starts raining again. And the roads are flooded. Some roads are completely washed out. They're not passable. Fields where we see cows normally are, the cows have been moved because they can't be in the fields because there's too much water, and they're flooded right out. Cornfields, potato fields, we're seeing all of those flooded at the moment, and it is still raining. It's kind of cold here today, but got the wood stove going, staying toasty. But we need to constantly look at these things and what kind of things are we going to need? What kind of things can help us get through these situations? So this is something that we are constantly always doing and looking at, we're already in a SHTF. Can it get worse? Oh, yes, it can. It can get way worse, and we need to be prepared for that. So I just put together a little list today of a few things that we're looking at and our family is doing, things we want to make sure that we have enough of. We do not want to be without these things. We want to make sure that we're prepared and ready for whatever is going to happen. So one thing that I have been looking at myself was our canning jars. How many canning jars do we have? If I have to can every drop of food that we consume, I'm going to need a lot of jars. We got 6 people in the house. So making sure that we have enough jars. Looking at deals on jars, looking around, trying to find deals, things like that are really a great idea right now. Also lids, making sure we have enough lids. And I know a lot of people say you can only use the lids once. That's what it says on the box. But if you get that lid off and it's not bent or creased and it still looks good, it still seals. We save all our old lids and we use them mostly for vacuum sealing, but in a pinch, I can can with those. I have canned with them before. I know they work 5, 6, 7 times for one lid. I marked one lid over and over and over every time I used it. And I think it was like 7 times that lid kept sealing. And then the lid got bent, so it didn't work anymore. And I didn't try after that. But those things, making sure we have enough. So if we are going to be preserving our food, whatever you're preserving your food in, if you are using Mylar bags, making sure you have plenty of that. Whatever it is, those kind of preserving to hold your preserved foods, definitely. We want to have plenty of that on hand. And also salt. Salt is not just for seasoning your food. You also need, you can use salt for cleaning. We clean our cast iron with it. We also use salt for all kinds of stuff. Tons of salt. We keep a variety of salt in the house. We have canning salt, pink salt, coarse sea salt. We have all kinds of stuff. You can keep tons of different salts. If we have to preserve meat, keeping curing salts is a really good idea. There are so many different things that we can do. Looking at what we might have to do down the road will help us definitely on figuring out what kind of supplies we really want to focus on at this moment. Another thing that we are working on is increasing our instant meals and soups and things like that, because those are really great. In a emergency situation, you can eat right out of the can, right out of the jar, and it saves on water for cleanup, so you're not having tons of plates. You can, if you can't heat it up, sometimes it's a lot better heated up, and I definitely recommend heating your food up when you can, because it tastes better. But when you can't, you can eat it from the jar. So those instant foods, I think, are really good. And we like to can soups. I can all kinds of little random meals that we like to eat. Chicken curry, I can that. Chicken fajitas, just plain old chicken, beef, pork, whatever. We do all kinds of stuff. So in an emergency, if we have to, we can just grab it. And if it's not an emergency, they make quick, wonderful meals when you're busy. The next thing is meat, making sure we have plenty of meat. We want to make sure we have that. There is all kinds of problems with meat. You see the chicken farms, businesses are still closing. Things are getting crazier and crazier. We hear about vaccinating animals, things like that. Some things you just don't want to eat. So finding a local farmer or raising your own is probably your best option at this time. But we all have to do what we can do. So making sure we have plenty is going to be important. The next thing is vinegar. Vinegar is one of those things that it has so many purposes and so many uses. We love to keep a lot of vinegar in the house. And we keep different kinds of vinegar for flavoring and for pickling and, you know, all sorts of stuff. But whatever it is that you use, and just plain old white vinegar is wonderful because you can, you know, do so much with it. You can clean, you can wash your hair. There's so many different things. Having vinegar is really important. The next thing that we are making sure that we have plenty of right now is fats and oils. They do not last long term. They're not going to last 10, 20 years in your pantry, but having a good supply for as long as you can is definitely important. Some people freeze their oils and fats and things like that. If you have room in your freezer, that's a great idea to do to make it last longer, but not everybody has that kind of space in their freezer. So doing the best you can is important. The next thing that I think is really important is having good quality tools. We are looking at our tools right now to make sure the condition that they're in. We have been working on a fence for one of our dogs, so he has a nice safe area to run in. And when we were digging those holes, of course, one of our good shovels has a huge crack in it now, sideways. So that shovel, although we're still using it, it is going to break. And we want to make sure we have those kind of tools and good quality ones. So when that does break, I've got another one that I can depend on. I know it's going to break because the crack is probably that wide. There's not much on the sides of it. So we want to just make sure that we have that stuff. And good quality tools too. Those are really important. If you're going to bet your life on something, you want to make sure it's of good quality. The next thing that we are checking on to make sure we have plenty of is over-the-counter medications. And, you know, if you've been prepping for a long time, you know, you got to go through this stuff once in a while and making sure what is still good, getting new stuff in there, getting it rotated, things like that. That's really important. Herbal remedies as well in that, making sure we have all the things we need to make those herbal remedies. Another thing is first aid supplies. We want to make sure we have more than we ever think we would need. We may have to help someone else out with them. So making sure we have plenty is really important. And we are making sure that we have a really good supply of all those things that seem to get chewed up really fast. The next thing that we are working on is ammo. We're making sure that we have plenty of ammo, whether it is bullets or arrows for the bow or whatever it is that you're going to use to protect yourself and your family. Making sure you have a decent supply. If you run out of bullets, then your gun is useless. So making sure you have a really good supply is really important. And another thing that we are working on is water. We're seeing so much contamination with the trains going off track everywhere and all this craziness. The world really is just so crazy right now. But when these trains go off the tracks and they derail and they're dumping all these chemicals and gas into the ground and into the water, it's contaminating the water more and more. I mean, we have enough contamination in this country. I think I read the other day it was something like 46 million people in the United States do not have good drinking water. That is an insane amount of people that don't have good drinking water. So making sure you have as much water as possible stocked up is really important. And also filters. No matter how much water you stock in a long-term situation, filters, your water supply is not going to last. You're going to want filters so you can clean your water. Boiling your water is a wonderful idea because that helps kill all kinds of stuff in it. Also, running it through a filter. There are all kinds of options out there for you. But making sure that you've got water and filters, that is a huge one. And the last, and I think this is something that comes at the end of all your other prepping is done and you have everything you need, your bills are paid. But silver and gold is about the only way to preserve your wealth in the event of a financial collapse. Silver and gold will still be tradable. No, you can't eat it, but you can trade it for food. Someone will want it. There's always going to be someone. All these batteries, cell phones, electronics, all this stuff, it requires silver and gold plating on these parts to make them. The price of it is not going to go down. I don't think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. You're not going to invest in it and be rich next week. You'll be lucky to get your money back next week. But in a long-term situation, I don't think it's going to decrease. And it can just hold your money where if putting it in the bank, it could be gone tomorrow. You really don't know. And that's it for today. With everything crazy going on, definitely take a look at your preps. Make sure you have what you need. You want to make sure that your supplies are full and you have the things that can come up in your area, especially on the water thing. With all the crazy contamination that's going on currently with the flooding, that contaminates water as well. All kinds of crazy stuff can happen. So making sure we have all the stuff we need is really important. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.